Hey everybody, who's up for Icebox fruitcake? I certainly am. It's one of my favorites, and I know you're thinking, well, I should have had this before Christmas. Well, guess what? I made it before Christmas, but I just didn't get the video posted. But this is a recipe and a cake, Icebox fruitcake, that if you wrap it tightly, it'll last in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks, 2 months. And it will be delicious, and you can enjoy it throughout the whole month of January. That's what Doug and I plan to do. So let me tell you what I'm going to put in it, and then I'm going to do some prepping, and I'll come back and we'll make it together. I'm using graham crackers, and let me preface this by saying I'm not advertising for any of these products that go into this Icebox fruitcake. These are just happen to be the products that I like and that I use when I make my Icebox fruitcake. So I'm using graham crackers, and I'm using a 14-ounce box of graham crackers. I'm using a 16-ounce jar of maraschino cherries, and I'm going to drain the juice and chop the cherries. And I have my gloves here because I don't want to stain my hands with that cherry juice. As much as I love cherry juice, I don't want red hands. I'm using 1/4 cup of whole milk. Now, a lot of people use sweetened condensed milk. I remember when I made this 2 years ago for you, that some of you said, well, I use sweetened condensed milk. Well, that's fine if you want to do that, but I'm using 1/4 cup of whole milk. I'm using a 12-ounce bag of marshmallows, 12-ounce box of dried raisins. These are the dark raisins. You could use the gold ones if you wanted to. I'll be using a 7-ounce bag of sweetened coconut flakes, and guess what? 4 cups of chopped pecans. I'm going to use my food chopper to grind up or to crush my graham crackers, and so I'm going to do that before I come back. Because there's no need for you to sit here and watch me. You've all seen this before. If you don't have a food processor, you can use a plastic bag and just crush it in that plastic bag. Crush your graham crackers in a plastic bag. So, and I'm also going to go ahead and drain the cherries and chop them, because there's no need in wasting your time watching me chop cherries. You know how to do that. And then we'll come back and we'll put the Icebox fruitcake together. Okay, let me share with you the prep work that I have done for our Icebox fruitcake. First of all, I took my graham crackers and I used my food processor and I crushed the graham crackers. And that is an entire box of graham crackers. So I'm going to set those aside. Next, I also used my food processor, which a lot of times I cut it up by hand, but I thought, well, why not use the food processor? So I used a food processor and I drained the juice from the cherries, and I put it in this cup here, and it's about 3/4 cup, and we may not need all of it, but we'll use what we need. So I went ahead and I chopped our cherries to go in our fruitcake. Next, I go ahead and mix my coconut, my raisins, and pecans. And you might say, well, why don't you just dump that in, open the bag and dump it in? This starts the process of blending it all together and makes it so much easier to incorporate it evenly, to distribute it evenly in your fruitcake if you go ahead and mix these ingredients together. So I'm going to set this aside, and now I'm going to start getting our liquid ready. I've placed our marshmallows in this saucepan that I have here, and I'm also going to add 1/4 cup of milk. And like I said, some of you may use sweetened condensed milk, and if you do, that is perfectly fine. And this will make our liquid plus our cherry juice that we'll need to blend and to mix all of these other ingredients together. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this over to the stove, and I'm going to, on very low heat, I'm going to melt the marshmallows. And when they get melted, I'll come back and we'll continue making our Icebox fruitcake. Our marshmallows are almost melted. You can see we have just a few that are not completely melted. So I wanted to show you how this looks on the stove. I know that you know that, but I like to show you every step when I'm teaching or when I'm demonstrating how I make my foods. So I'll meet you back at the island in just a minute. The marshmallows are now melted and I have removed them from the stove, from the heat. That's what you want to do, is just remove them from the heat. So now I'm going to start adding our cracker crumbs, our crushed graham crackers. That's what I'm trying to say. Come on, help me out now. When I can't think of the words I need to say, you need to help me out. So I'm just mixing this around, and I'm going to add a little bit of the cherry juice. And I hope I don't spill this cherry juice because I'm going to need it to moisten all of our ingredients. And I have been known to turn things over. So I add a little bit more. I've got about a half a cup left, and I'll try to tell you exactly how much I use, but sometimes your exact is not my exact, and sometimes we just have to guess. So I'm just mixing this around, and when this cools off a little bit, you can see that I still have my gloves on. I'm going to take my hands and start mixing this, but I can't do it yet because this skillet or this saucepan is hot and I don't want to burn my hands. So next, I'm just going to add our cherries. Now this is going to add, there was one that had a little stem left on it. This will add more juice, just the cherries themselves. So I'm just mixing it up. It's beginning to look like Icebox fruitcake. I'm getting excited. Oh, it's going to be so, so good. I just love it. I do. I'm going to take my finger and just rub it off. It's cool enough that I can handle it. So now I'm going to start adding our coconut, pecans, and raisins. I'm just going to add a little bit at the time, and I'm going to start mixing. And see how pre-mixing that helps to distribute it so much easier than if you just poured each one in all at one time. So see how easily that mixed? Let me add some more. I'll probably do it in thirds. And that way I can tell if I'm going to need more cherry juice. But it's feeling really good and moist. So I'm just mixing it, mixing this Icebox fruitcake together, and you want to turn it over, get all the dry ingredients mixed in so that everything is moist, everything is mixed together. Oh, I miss my sweet mama. She did love this, and I do too. So now I'm finishing adding the pecans, the coconut, and the raisins. And I'm just mixing it with my hands. And here again, these wonderful gloves that I use come in handy. Look at that. Just mixing, mixing, mixing. I'm going to turn my saucepan around. Just continuing to mix. My husband loves me. I think all of you know that. I know your husbands love you too. And when I make something like this, he is so grateful. He is just like a child having a piece of candy. So I'm so excited to be able to tell him that I made an Icebox fruitcake and that we can share it and enjoy it together. We like to watch little movies at night, and sometimes we'll just have a little dessert, and this will make a wonderful dessert. And I think that I have it mixed well enough. It feels like it, it looks like it. So now I'm just gonna wipe my hands off here like this, and I'm going to take this glove off because I need to reach over and get the pan or the dish that I'm going to put our fruitcake in. So come with me, and I probably am going to make some noise, but I need to grab another glove because I'm going to be using, I forgot to get that, and I do apologize. My hands are kind of sweaty from having that glove on because the ingredients were hot. Let me see if I can get this on real quickly. I know you're thinking, well, why didn't you plan ahead? Well, sometimes we just don't. And you know what? I may not be able, I'm going to get it on. I promise you I'm going to get this glove on. It's not that tight, it's just that my hands got hot and wet from handling this hot mixture. Okay, I have my glove on. Yay! Yay, Joyce. You did good. I'll applaud my own self. Okay, so now we're ready to put our fruitcake mixture in a dish. And I'm using 8 by 11. This is a Pyrex dish or baking dish, and I have lightly greased it with butter. So now I'm just going to put it here, and I'm going to, I'll start out with a spatula, but I'm going to use my hands. I'm just going to place the mixture in the baking dish. Now we don't bake this. We just put it in the refrigerator and let it get really, really cold before we cut it. But I am using a baking dish to put mine in. You could use it in any kind of dish that you want to. So we're just doing it like that. And you're thinking, well, it's not going to hold it all. Well, it is because we're going to pat it down. We want it to be tight. The mixture needs to be very, very tight in order for it to cut pretty. Okay, we're looking good. Y'all, I just really want to taste this. Probably when I get finished with this video and showing you how I do this, I'll probably just take a spoon and get the remains out of the saucepan and enjoy it. We used to do that when we were children. Mama would let us, what she called lick the bowl. Some people call it spoon the bowl, but I think we called it lick the bowl. The batter, it was delicious. It was fun, and it created memories of being in the kitchen with Mama. So, okay, there we have all of our mixture, our fruitcake mixture in. So now I'm going to just take my hands and see, if I didn't have on this glove, this would just be all over my hands. So, and there again, I know everybody doesn't use gloves. They can't afford gloves. They might not can find some gloves, but this is just exactly how you do it. You just press it in, press it tight. You want it to be very, very tight so that when it chills, the consistency will be so that you can cut it. Now, let me see if I can take the spatula. I probably should have buttered it, but I'm gonna just take the spatula and I'm gonna really make sure that it's down in there really well. Oh, I'm telling you, if I did make this myself and couldn't hardly get my gloves on today because my hands were wet, this would make a movie. I mean, really. You know, movies are transparent and they show what life is really all about. So maybe I'll make a movie of making a icebox fruitcake and struggling with getting my gloves on. Okay, there you have it. There's my icebox fruitcake. It's going in the refrigerator, and when it gets done, I'll cut a piece. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. Thank you for helping me to make this icebox fruitcake. You are such wonderful, wonderful, sweet encouragers to me, and I appreciate it so much. I hope you'll share our video. I hope you'll make this and enjoy it. It will last into the new year. And I have lots of good things planned for the new year, and I just look forward to spending it with you. I'll see you again really, really soon.